What do you learn when you do a drawing repeatedly?
Repeatedly doing a drawing. Actually, it may be a series of drawing. For example, fabric. You set up the fabric, and you have several beautiful ideas about how to do it. Sometimes I try to choose the best one or best two, maybe one horizontally, the other one vertically. But sometimes I have several, maybe 5 ideas about how to do it, and each one seems wonderful and interesting. So I'll do a series of fabric. They look very similar, but not exactly the same. You may say I do it repeatedly, but actually I did feel very different when I going on with each one. They give me different feedback. Drawing is not like you are a farmer working on a line and the paper is your line and you keep working and you get something there. It's not like that. And it's not just a piece of paper. It could going interactive with you, although it's not a person, cannot speak like a person, like a friend, but a drawing as it growing, it does talk to you in a way. If you are really engaged and really treasure it, it belongs to you and it talks to you. And by doing a drawing, doing a series of drawings repeatedly, you will feel more and more intense. Sometimes it's running away from you while running away because it's not always there. Sometimes you feel a lot from a work, sometimes feel less from a work, maybe because you're not quite okay, or maybe you're sleepy or some other distraction reasons. But by doing a work repeatedly, for example, this copy, this is my third time doing it, and I learned different things. Although you, as my family, watch me doing copy all the time, you couldn't find the differences. Cross-hatching, layers after layers after layers looks so similar. Sometimes maybe you will feel tiresome and meaningless, maybe, but really not. I know each inch of this paper is meaningful and important. And each time I do cross-hatching, even though they look similar and looks the same, but I know every minute my cross-hatching is meaningful because it's depicting something maybe important on the face, the portrait, or drapery, or hands, or maybe just the background. It's very weird. If you do something right, correctly, and it looks good, it's you almost take it as granted. It should be like that. But if you do something wrong, for example, the direction changed from the head and the neck and the shoulders, how this change, how they are connected. If you have something wrong with the perspective in this human figure, the problem jumps out immediately. You will see something wrong there right away. The background, is it too light or is it too dark or it needs some gradation? If something wrong, it tells you immediately and you have to work on it. But if it's good, even perfect, looks beautiful, you will take it as granted. It should be like that. But if you're actually doing the work, especially it's a big scale drawing, and you know how much work it takes and how much time it needs and how much frustrations and painful suffering burdens is going along with the happiness of creating artwork. The sublime of creating artwork, also the heaviness of being suffocated. And I think the reason for doing a drawing repeatedly may be simply because the work is beautiful. The work is beautiful enough to attract me, to make me want to do it more and more and more and more until I feel, okay, let's move on to the new work. That's the very simple reason. It's the work itself is beautiful enough to attract me. There is a reason to do it. For example, this one, I'm looking for an answer. That is the gradation from the lightest light to the darkest dark, the brightest forehead until the darkest shadow. The gradation, it sounds very easy. All my teachers told me, and what I saw from nature is closer to the light and the contrast is stronger. And far away from the light, it fading away and it becomes a lot more mild or weaker. It sounds very easy, right? But actually, when you're rendering a work and trying to find the logic in the puzzle of light and shadow and dealing the difficulties of contours of last time you said boundary actually it's contour terminators, you will know how difficult it is. And this work is the most beautiful drawing I ever seen in the world, but it confused me and I tried to figure out the reason why it attracted me and why it puzzled me. And I read art stories and I read his biographies, read some essays, and I couldn't find the reason. I couldn't find the answer. So I decided, okay, I'll do a copy of it. While doing the copy, I actually observe every single detail very, very detailed, very, very carefully. And there's no guarantee that I can find the answer I need. So it's a journey. It's a question while you're doing the drawing. Let's make the question simple, easier to look at the answer. Why you do the drawing, why you do it repeatedly, I think it's because I want to find the answer. And I have to do it myself, and I have to do it my best. If I couldn't draw in quiet, I prefer some white noise, carry along. Sometimes I imagine my studio is in a big factory and some machines going on. Healing is noisy, but totally okay. And you think you could repeatedly do a work exactly the same as the original, each one every time looks the same as the previous one, but actually really not. You could never be the same as the original one, and every time you repeat it, it's different from the last time you did it, and you feel very, very different from the previous trying. And when you put them together, it's interesting. You will look back what you have done, and everything lost seems comes back to you, and all the suffering seems really doesn't matter anymore. It's alright, my drawing with me, and you grow, and you feel you are be cheated. It's tricky. No matter how hard you work on your drawing and how much you learn, the endeavor, the peaceful lost, whatever you going through your mind while doing this work, whatever happened in your life while you're doing this work, it's all part of it, and that they are all connected through this series of work looks similar or looks repeatedly. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is irrelevant. Nothing is not important in terms of rendering a drawing, in terms of within this allowed range, could never run out of the range. The limitation of paper and the limitation of pencil, limitation of my own comfort zone, so small. But there is a infinite space so far away in drawing. I've seen it, and as I know the question seems easy, but it could also be very deep. Drawing could be super heavy and deep, and to the end you feel you're still not sure, and there's no one you could communicate what he think about it, or what she has done with her pencil. So drawing repeatedly end up with a self getting along thing. You're getting along with your loneliness, and you do not suffer with it. And it's the most beautiful situation as an artist. It's not loneliness, actually it's solitude. Very self-possessed solitude. You think about some questions, or you just keep your mind empty. Very peacefully and coolly working situation. That's the most beautiful, and my desire actually to be alone. And I wish for I could do this work 10 times, and each time I'll try something different, material or method or composition or some new trying. And then after it's done, I'll put all these 10 pieces together on the wall. I'll make a tiny book. It should be very fun. It should be funny. And before you're trying, you may think it's impossible. But if you dare to say, you dare to think, I only live once. He did it, why can't I? I'm not stupid than him. I'm a living life also. I should try to see if I can do it. I'm not afraid. If I fail, it's a failure. Just a failure trying, whatever. Who cares, right? Some time lost, and I experienced it. It's part of my life. So it becomes a very fundamental existing thing. What do you do? Why you do it? You love it, or you feel nothing, or you feel it's more than you love it. It's something not only about self-principle, not self-discipline. It's not like a soldier doing something on duty, on night watch. Not like that, really more than that, a lot deeper than you think. What is it? And it's impossible to communicate if you are not at that level. Even someone talk to you, you couldn't get it at all. What I do, I used to remember something in my mind until it takes years to understand what it means, and then it takes years to put it in my work, to make some progress, to really arrive at that point of that sentence. I'm a slow learner, very limited brain. But back to your question, I think doing a drawing repeatedly is the best way to understand a work, and the best way to communicate with the draftsman, someone even 500 years ago, but you could understand certain things more than his friends at his time. Why those friends did beautiful work better than you, and you make it what happened because it's the depth of your thinking ability and the depth of understanding a work in a drawing way, not verbal explanation. It sounds ridiculous. I'm trying to explain what I'm doing to you right now, but doing a drawing repeatedly, observe it very carefully, very detailed, is the best teacher, one of the best teacher I ever found. And one thing is very, very important is to compare a lot with the work and with nature, with models. I think that's it.